talking, and but I kind of forgot what I was venting about. But I know ultimately I did talk at I said something along the line of like somehow the more I live in a real reality, even though I actually at that time I feel very anxious because I feel like there's nowhere to run. It sounds so I don't know, but that's how I felt at that time. Like I just feel like this is all the thing I have to face. Um, maybe at some part I also, like you said, I'm kind of living in the conceptual reality. That's why I feel overwhelmed. I'm not
Well,
sure.
most people spend most of their time in a made-up reality in their head,
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
and we spend very little time actually investigating reality. And
mhm,
this is
mhm,
what the real practice of the Buddha is
mhm,
to
mhm,
investigate. Remember to investigate. Remember to look at the way things are, both on the
mhm,
inside and the outside. But we
mhm,
start with the inside
mhm,
to begin to recognize that we do spend most of our time on the inside thinking about things
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
instead of actually observing things. And so
Mhm,
we observe the mind
mhm,
making stuff up, thinking
mhm.
about things.
Yeah.
And now we have to make a decision as is that wholesome or not?
Mhm,
In other words, am I making up something that's close to actual reality? Or am I
mhm,
making up something dangerous? Am I making up work that needs to be done? That in fact you just mentioned that you were anxious or tense. That comes from, the feelings come from unwholesome thoughts, that you literally talked yourself into anxiety.
mhm,
And you've
mhm.
probably been doing it for so long that you're very, very good at it. And so it
Yeah.
doesn't take much talking to get into anxiety. Maybe a thought moment, tenth of a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Mm.
right.
I agree.
So, can you now talk yourself out of anxiety?
Mm.
That's a skill that you don't have developed very well.
Mm. Yeah. Um.
Now, what is actually real then? Anxiety or freedom from anxiety?
See, that's a tricky question. I don't know how to answer that. Like, because
All right. Well,
instinctively, I am.
humans are full of
Yeah.
anxiety because they talk themselves into it delusionally.
Mm,
But if you
yeah,
don't
I would
talk
agree.
yourself into anxiety, then your natural state would be not no anxiety.
Mm. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So we could go the difference between normal and natural.
Mm.
Anxiety is normal because it's frequent and it happens because
Mm.
people talk themselves into it.
Mm.
But freedom from anxiety would be a natural state.
Mm. 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 I okay. See, this is interesting because I mean, the idea of understanding this anxiety is nothing new to me. But when you are talking about anxiety is normal but not natural, I just remember like ever since I was very young, I this sounds so stupid. Like I kind of just when people ask me what I'm thinking, it's almost like I'm trying to fake that I'm worried about something to some degree because I feel like when I'm faking worry about something to a certain degree, um, people will think like, oh, he's part of this
Could
world.
it
Like,
be that when people ask you that question, what are you thinking? You have determined that the right answer is what they would want you to be thinking about or what
yeah,
they want you to believe.
yeah. It's kind of
Because
like
if
that.
you disagree with them, it might be dangerous. And so here comes the anxiety.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't be
yeah,
honest with people about what you're thinking because you've already put the filter on it. Oh, I've got to please them, and not
yeah.
pleasing them is dangerous.
Yeah.
All right. Name me someone who doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So when you were a really little kid, you got yourself into the habit of being anxious and uptight because you were trying to please other people.
Yeah. Okay, this is crazy because I I've always been very observant and self-aware about where my certain root source is, but I have no idea why talking to you suddenly I just realized this. Like it might seem so obvious, but I mean, yeah. And
Why
it's
is
almost
it
like,
crazy? You use the word crazy. What
well,
does that mean?
because
Does that mean it's stupid?
no, it's not. I don't mean it that way. It's just that.
Oh, you're using crazy in the sense of it's surprising.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it's
something you
surprising.
haven't heard before.
Yeah, it's surprising because I'm very well. I watch. I'm not sure how to say it. Like I'm. I think I would consider myself as very aware and kind of smart in these sort of things. Can always pinpoint where certain things come from.
Okay. So that's an
Yeah.
opinion that you have of yourself, and
Hmm.
yet you still speak of having anxiety. Aren't those two things contradictory? Or
Hmm.
maybe the anxiety comes from the order that, oh, you're supposed to be self aware.
Yeah. Something like that. Like not. I mean, yeah.
And so by admitting that you're not aware, that creates anxiety.
I would say a very low level, like very subtle, like very subtle. But yeah, something like that.
Yeah, well, things build up like a dripping faucet will eventually fill up a bucket.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I just want to say that, um, but yeah, now that I know this, is when I was a kid, I had to pretend, yeah, and it's almost like if I were to say, I mean, if I were to look back, if I were to say, oh, I'm not thinking anything, I'm not, I have no thoughts in my head, I feel like I would feel exposed and, like you said, exposed to danger because people will be like, how can you be not thinking about anything? I don't know. It's just something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's sort of like I think I conditioned myself into.
I imagine that you also do that even when the people are not there standing there, that they don't require an answer because they're not there, but you're still making up answers for them
Yeah, like
because we got
living.
into the habit of it. Hmm.
Yeah, it's like this
So
conceptual reality.
this
Uh-huh.
is what the real teaching is begin to look at the kind of thoughts that you're having. For
Mm,
instance, if you're thinking about someone that's not standing right there, why are you thinking thoughts about them?
mm,
Okay, why don't we live in reality instead of our imagined reality? And the answer
mm,
is because of that perceived issue of danger. Oh, I should be ready for them. I
mm,
should have the answer ready.
mm, mm, mm,
So, this is one of the things to start watching for when you're alone doing what we call practice. Some people
mm,
call it meditation, but I want to take at least a second to talk about that. That meditation is actually cogitation. They even write poems and call it a meditation, which is nothing more than conceptualization. We don't practice conceptualization, we don't practice meditation. What we're practicing is watching how we think so that we can make a choice.
mm,
And one of
mm,
the choices would be then it's better to be here now than it is to be off someplace else, thinking about
mm,
someone else who's not
mm,
here, not now,
mm,
and thinking up things that we want to say to them. So we're actually in the past and in the future, and we go back and forth between the past and the future, rather than being here, right now, in the present moment. That's a major part of the teaching. Why? Is because almost all of the dukkha, all of our dissatisfactions are based upon the past, and most of our future is based upon trying to fix the broken past so that we'll feel okay. But while we're doing it in the here now of thinking about the past and planning for the future, we don't feel good. We don't feel great. We have anxiety. And so what we need to do instead is to recognize, oh, I'm thinking about some other place, some other time. Let me come and be in the here now and recognize that right here, right now, I'm safe, especially if you're alone. If you're in a room alone, then you're safe. There's no alligators on the floor. There's nobody yelling at you. There's no mob boss there with a gun to your head. And yet we feel like that we've got to be ready for anything. And that's correct, but in a different context. And that is to be ready for anything means that whatever happens is not dangerous. That always we make the danger up. That we don't live in an environment where animals come around like tigers and elephants tromping on us and all that kind of stuff. Our life, our world is not a dangerous place.
Yeah, when you mentioned about alligators and all these dangerous animals, I was just I'm curious because the Buddha always kind of encouraged people to, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Buddha encouraged people to live in the wilderness because that's where people maybe, I don't know, find spiritual growth or anything. But I realize, is it also because when you're living in the wilderness, you are more in touch of reality because there is danger, but it's not. I don't know. Like you have
occasionally there's danger, and then in fact you could see the possibility of someone out in nature, and that is a dangerous place or a dangerous moment, and he's not even aware of it because he's thinking about some other danger someplace else.
Yeah.
And so the whole quality is to start to be aware of what's happening right now. Yes, occasionally there are dangers in the here now, but 99% of all the dangers are made up in the brain, in the mind. And while we're making stuff up, we're not paying attention to what's happening in reality. And so reality becomes even more dangerous because we're not paying attention. We're worried about other dangers.
I mean, yeah, it sounds so obvious, but I've forgotten about it. I'm speechless because I know that reminding this to myself is kind of calling me out for the past few days. That's what I've been doing. Like I'm adding unnecessary anxiety on top of what I should be focusing on, and it's like a wild goose chase. I'm chasing something that
actually there is the goose is not wild. There is no goose.
Yeah.
But you're just out there chasing in the mind, as if there was a goose, as if it were wild. And the fact is that right now there's no goose.
Yeah. So I was listening to one of, I guess one of your son, where you guys were having a group video call, and last night, and in one of the video you're talking about everything's broken and needing to be fixed, as in like this weird mentality we're putting ourselves in.
Well, that's how people think. The reality is that things are just fine. Things are not broken. But we go around, we have been trained from childhood that things need to be done. When we're really little, we start to be ordered around. Go clean your room, do your homework, all kinds of things. And so we as children learn to try to meet other people's expectations. We get in the habit of doing that, and then we can even live our whole lives that way without ever considering that stuff just all made up. We made it up. We became habit bound by it. And so we continuously make stuff up rather than living in reality. We live in our thought world. So can you begin to change that? Can you begin to have thoughts about what's happening right now? Wholesome thoughts, like right now everything is okay. Right now everything's just fine. Not a worry in the world. No problems. Because that's real. Right now there are no problems, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now.
But you can think them up about problems that'll be in the future or maybe problems in the past. But right now you don't have any problems. So let us start to practice being in that state of having no problems, because most of the time you don't have problems, and yet most of the time you're thinking up problems.
Yeah. Is it weird that so I experienced this quite a few times, like even when I'm talking to Kat, and when Kat reminded me of this exactly something similar of what you're saying, sometimes I find a part of my brain is like resisting, and I feel like during those moments, should I be aware that my mind is resisting this?
Right. Well, have you ever seen a truck or a car get stuck in a rut and people trying to push it out? Okay. So you could say that the car actually likes the rut.
Yeah.
It wants to stay there. It's hard to push the truck out of the rut.
Yeah.
All right. So the mind gets stuck in a rut too, and it's hard to push the mind out of the rut. But you keep changing it. You keep coming out of the rut and coming out of the rut, and pretty soon you gain the skill of being able to come out of the ruts of the mind. That in fact the word rut here is what we're meaning by the word habit.
Yeah, I see that. My mind definitely loves. There's a certain clinging to wanting to stay at that place where I just know it's going to lead me down the rabbit hole. But yeah, well, wholesome thoughts. Yeah, Kat did told me a lot about the right effort in just small amount of just enough effort in trying to reframe. And I guess that's why early on I kind of say I took it seriously, because I really did see how it shifts my perspective in a lot of things. But as you said, there's this instinct of like just going back to old habits. It's like this constant up and down. Will you say this is reality? Like it's just gonna be up and down? I'm not sure. Like in terms of habit.
Well, your made-up reality is not reality.
Yes.
Okay. And one can say, in fact, that dukkha is when our made-up reality is far away from the actual reality. And that the closer our made-up reality is to actual reality, the less dukkha, the less dissatisfaction we have. All right. For instance, if you're just sitting with no place to go and nothing to do, your natural state would be that you don't want anything. And yet we sit there thinking up stuff that we want to do, thinking up stuff we want to have. All right. So when we want something we don't have, the reality is that we don't have it. If we want it and don't have it, that's dissatisfaction. The reality is that we don't have it. If we could come to, oh, I don't have that, then you're okay. But when you say, oh, I don't have it and I want it, now you're in a state of dukkha, state of dissatisfaction. And you have been spending, as most people do, most of the time thinking about things that are not done, thinking about things that you want to do, thinking about things that you don't have, and then you wind up with anxiety over it because you don't have what you want. You're far away from reality. And so we need to start practicing seeing that we do that a lot, to start examining what thoughts we're having, not as I'm talking, you're conceptualizing, but the right way I'm talking about it is to sit down and start watching the kind of thoughts that you're having so that you can make a change to those thoughts and come back into the reality. And reality is that everything's okay.
What if certain, so there's a few times in my life when I want something and then I just say, oh, I don't have that, and that's okay. There's a lot of freedom in that feeling. But sometimes, what if my mind just goes there, like it's kind of like holding it, and so
can you catch it going there? That's just an old habit. That's the whole point, is that when you go into that state of desire, in the state of wanting, can you catch that and say, oh, I don't have to think about that right now. I'm okay right now. This takes practice. It takes repetition over and over and over again. Because you're already well practiced and well rehearsed into having the kind of thoughts that create anxiety. Now you have to practice a new tune.
Yeah, I agree. New tune. So you said just now, I don't have to have it right now. Would you say this is a skillful way of tricking the mind? As in, like, right now we don't need to have it, and then it's okay, and then you just let go.
Yeah, right. To gladden the mind, to brighten the mind, because when you're thinking about something that you want, the mind goes downhill. It goes into desire, wanting, into dissatisfaction, into fear, and into anxiety. Sometimes that happens really fast.
Well, yeah, it goes really fast. Like, it's almost, it's like going down a slippery hill. Like, and then it just go very fast. And it's just, oh my God.
So either before you get there or after you get there, can you wake up to the process? Can you wake up to the fact that you've landed someplace or that you're about to go there and make a change? Oh, wow, I'm glad I see that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I'm glad I didn't go that way. All right. Or, wow, I'm glad I can get myself out of that. Now, the Buddha himself had a phrase that was exactly that, but the words or language was different. The language that he used was, aha, I see you, Mara.
Oh,
which
yeah.
means, aha, I see the difficulty. Aha, I see the problem. Aha, I see that anxiety coming on. And that aha, I see it is part of the change. Because you're either in it and don't see it, or you do see it and then you can exclaim, aha, I see that, and that's part of the change that we need to make. Is to recognize what we're doing that creates discomfort, dissatisfaction for ourselves. Even having a rule, oh, you should not be dissatisfied. Well, that's a rule. That creates anxiety. And you can say, wow, I'm glad I see that I've got that rule. I see you, Myra. And then we can just relax rather than getting more uptight because we saw that we had gotten uptight. And we've got a rule, thou shalt not be uptight.
It kind of, I definitely agree. Well, when I was talking to Ken, he always kind of reminds me how the rules I set up for myself, I shouldn't do this. In a way, it's, I'm not sure was this how he said it, but in my interpretation, it's like it causes suffering. I feel like it's tricky, Dhammarato, like because I'm not sure, like sometimes when I get relaxed in like I telling myself there's no rule, sometimes I don't know, it just goes back to doing bad habits. So I'm not sure, like maybe it's just all about awareness, right? I mean, I don't know, like a part of me feels like it will help, but as always, every time I say I shouldn't do that, it just goes down this rabbit hole. So I'm not sure, like I guess it's just awareness. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So repetition.
So this is why we need to practice. This is, in fact, the Eightfold Noble Path that I've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The Eightfold Noble Path of remembering to remember to be here now. To remember to investigate to see that you're often not here now. That you're off in conceptualizations, you're off in other places, you're off in other times, you're off with other people that are not here. All right. So that's the first thing, is to be aware of the kind of thoughts that you're thinking, which means to remember to investigate and then make a change. Those three things run and circle around each other. It almost becomes the same skill. And along with that, then we also remember to take a deep breath, to start adding your breathing to it. So why? Is because when people are looking at the breath, they're looking at this breath right here, right now. Thinking about and working with the breath keeps you in the present moment. As opposed to nobody thinks or has a meditation when they're thinking about the breath that they were taking last year or even early this morning or some future breath. No, let's work with this breath, the one we're having right here, right now. We can also relax the body. We don't remember relaxing the body yesterday. In fact, we think about relaxing the body right here, right now.
Yeah, I felt it. This kind of like goes back to early on. I said when I notice my mind is clinging onto something, and maybe I can, in a skillful way, of telling the mind that, hey, I don't have to have you right now. And then he's like, oh, you know what, you're right. And then you let go. What if, I mean, I think I'm answering my own question here. It's like, what if, because this is usually the pattern I fall into, I will let go, and then instinctively there's a part of my voice that says, well, what if I want it later? What if I want it tomorrow again? This whole cycle continues. So it's like my mind just goes to this the wild goose chase where the goose doesn't exist.
Well, you were trained that way. Time to retrain.
Yeah, time to retrain. Yeah.
Time to retrain those habits. This is why we want to practice over and over again, learning a new tune, because we spend all the time on the old tune, that while we're practicing the new tune, the likelihood of us breaking out into the old tune is very high. And so we have to remember that we're making a new tune. And the new tune is a happy song, not a dirge.
Can I? I had a question about working relationship. It's about professional, right? When I'm meeting my clients or working with other colleagues, I had a question about that because I know that there are just time maybe you could say I'm living in conceptuality, but that's not. I'm not
Now,
sure. This.
right now, you're conceptualizing about and listen to all the stuff that we've been talking about, and here you go thinking about other people at work and whatnot. So I just caught you doing it. All right. So let's not think about those people. That in fact, if you can keep your mind happy right here, right now, when you're in the presence of those other people, you can continue keeping the mind happy right here, right now. You can actually begin to spread your joy. Right now, you've been spreading your misery and anxiety to other people. Let's change that. Let's start practicing right here, right now, to be here, right now, because everything right now is okay. And immediately you start making crap up. How do I handle those people? The answer to that is, why don't you handle your own mind right here, right now? And if you can gain the skill of doing that, you can handle your mind right here, right now, even when there's other people around.
Yeah. Thank you for catching me there. Yeah, I agree.
So this is the practice, is to start looking at what we're doing right here, right now, and make a change. We want to make it start simple.
Simple, yeah.
Because when you're around other people, you've got their dukkha to deal with as well as your own, which means that you've multiplied the amount of dukkha. So get away from all those other people so that you can get away from them in your mind also.
Now that you say it, I can feel my mind going a bit more still, like just now it was like.
So start to remember that you cause yourself grief and disgust and despair when you're thinking about other people. So stop thinking about other people. Spend time thinking about, right now, there's nobody here. Isn't that marvelous? Isn't it great? Right in here, right now, everything is hunky-dory. Everything is beautiful. And you're much better off by not thinking about other people. That as soon as you start thinking about other people, I mean, you remember you asked the question, well, how do I handle them? Well, there's your anxiety. There's your fear. By thinking about other people, you bring up all of that crap. So stay away from other people. Be in the present moment. Learn to get your mind in a really good state. And then you can deal with other people when your mind is in a really good state. You don't let their dukkha pull you down into your dukkha.
Is that missing so many dukkha together? Yeah.
Yeah, we in our neighborhood we call that a pity party. Misery loves company.
What? Yeah, I just caught myself again. Like my mind just says, like, well, but there's good thing about negative emotions, and it kind of. I'm not sure if it's the ego that is just scared of letting go of some of it. Like I don't know. It's just. Okay. Can I just one last question actually? Is because I really love this idea of reminding myself, you know, like I am the lion in a wholesome way. Like I could deal with things. I don't need things from people. Um, maybe. Yeah, I
Well,
just realized.
it's not, here's the point.
Mhm.
It's not a concept, and yet when I talk about it, it becomes a concept.
Oh, okay.
Basically, we're looking at if you're feeling really good right now because there's nothing happening and everything is okay, then you're on top of the situation, especially when you realize that, aha, I can be satisfied. Aha, I know how to be satisfied. That
Mm,
means that success is coming. Aha, I am successful at being satisfied. And then the feeling of being the boss, the feeling of being a champion, the feeling of you're in charge of your life is that feeling of being the lion. It's no longer a
mm.
concept, it's an experience. The
All right.
experience of, wow, this is great.
Yeah. This makes so much sense. Because when you talk about it, it's a concept. When you experience it, it's not a concept. Yeah,
All
I
right.
think I have my answers.
So
Thank
let's
you.
stop conceptualizing and start experiencing. Conceptualizations is mental, and
Mm.
it's not being here now, it's a thought process about being the lion off into the future instead of experiencing the feeling of, wow, it is so nice to be successful. I can control my mind.
It's also scary. Um, I mean, it feels. I mean, for me, it feels scary. At least now, I don't know. Like it
Well,
feels like.
that pickup truck that says, oh, if I get out of this rut, I'll have to go out onto the road someplace, and the road is scary. And here you are stuck in a rut thinking about that it's somehow scary into the future, to where you absolutely know for a fact that being comfortable right here, right now is not scary. It's not dangerous.
Mm, mm.
That you have protection. The reality is a protection from your own concepts about it being dangerous.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see that now. Yeah. Sorry. Um, I find it so interesting. Mm. I
But
always think that
but
reality
we
is
like
mostly.
being in our old habit patterns in a
Uh-huh,
way because
uh-huh.
changing is dangerous. It's scary. We can label it in the realm of fear of the unknown. In
Mm-mm.
politics, they say better the devil that we know than the devil that we don't. And that's just stupid intellectual, well, actually, it's not intellectual, instinctual behavior
Mm-mm.
of, oh, I don't know what it is, therefore it must be dangerous.
Mm-mm.
But you do know what it is. You have been happy in your life,
Mm-mm.
you have
Yeah.
been okay in the present moment. And so
Mm-mm.
you know that that's real. You've already
Mm-mm.
got the experience of it. Let's start practicing so that it happens often.
Mm-mm. Mm. I often trick myself into thinking reality is scary, but most of the time it's the conceptual reality I'm living in that feels like the reality is scary. It makes sense. Yeah. Wow, this is difficult. But yeah, I'm gonna do it.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
it would be wise for you to listen to this video. It's right there on your screen, available right after the call is finished.
Mm-mm. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
And review this over and over again.
I will.
All right. And so let's go ahead and finish the call now, and you can call me in a few days. But you need to start practicing this.
I will. I will.
All right.
Thank you, Dhammarato. Have a
Okay.
nice.
Well, we'll see you later.
See you later.